Humans been controlled since the day that they were civilized. The truth has been so heavily politicized. If you don't know who's controlling you and killing all the little guys, find out who you're not allowed to criticize.
Is it the skeletons you're hiding deep inside your closet? Have you been reading all the names they call you in the comments? Have you been worried your haters will put you in the coffin? Are you distraught that you promised vodka was not an option? Now you haven't thought
The people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flag.
Let's talk about it. Hello everybody, today we're talking about music, we're talking about great creatives that are booming online and things and artists that I actually listen to, and Top Macdonald is one of them. If you know me, I don't listen to much rap, to be honest. I always found rap being something that I just never necessarily connected with, but the OG, like Eminem, because my brother used to listen to a lot of his music. In general, if it's really up to me, mostly pop, anime, Japanese pop, Korean pop, and a couple of popular music, but not even so much anymore, to be honest. But Tom Macdonald really popped out because he had a lot of things to say, and a lot of things to say that really touched me. Just the way he's going about it, incredible. I'm gonna focus on to the interview that he did with Ben Shapiro from Daily Wire, and I think it was very interesting. A couple of things that he pointed out, that if you're creative, you want to stand up and you want to have a voice online and you want to stand, it's something that you can take a couple of things off of. So let's start with understanding who he is. He's a rapper, he's a Canadian rapper, songwriter, got to be very, very famous with his songs Fake Work, Snowflakes, and Brainwash. All appeared on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2021.
I am the darkness. Yeah, I got night vision. I've been biting my tongue and the blood from my cuts have been filling my stomach. I suffer because they don't show love and I'm humble. So now I just do this for all of my family and all of my brothers. Liar! You're rapping for yourself. It ain't for them. Your selfish motivations are the reasons you're depressed. I'm doing fine. You need to chill. You need to take more of those pills. Take a breath and tell us all just exactly how you feel. I'm the best rapper ever. I don't want to be great.
It's so deep what he's saying and how he's saying it, and really the state of the world we are living in today, and I'm much more agreeing onto that than anything else, and that's probably why I really got to be a fan of it. So it was not because of the rap, it was really what he was saying in his songs. His beginning of the career was all about really going to the classic rapper, the bad boy, talking about women, talking about drugs, talking about sex, all those things. And he understood that it was not working, and he really got to have a couple of experiences, and he realized that it was not even that anymore. Talk about women, talk about that life, rich life, success life. It was not about that. It was really about bringing something that everybody is thinking about. Favorite songs are Sheeple and Best Rapper Ever. This is the first that I discovered from him, and then I started listening to a lot more. There's a point here where you understand the artist and you understand what he's living through, the confidence and the courage that he has to speak about certain things that nowadays literally difficult and challenging to talk about, because you're gonna get so much push against you that it really takes a lot. It takes that courage, and when I really listen to his songs, I'm like, yes, it's just the motivation for me to be able to have more confidence into things about things that matters to me as well, and really going through the creative spectrum of it, or creative side of it, or creative approach to understand the mind of those people, understand how you can use it and really stand your ground and really have the courage, and not necessarily being a rapper, but having and finding the courage to talk about things that matters for you. And regardless of us or me or him disagreeing, it's important to have a free speech discussion, conversations and debates about those things. But, you don't have to disagree with everything. You just have to listen sometimes.
Let's talk about, how your music career originally happened, because it's very rare to spot anybody remotely near the music industry who does not simply follow the left-wing line on pretty much all the issues. But you very vocally do not. So how'd you get where you are?
Well, I think the key to everything has been, I'm totally independent. I have no ties to the music industry whatsoever. I've sort of created my own little ecosystem outside of the music industry. I produce all of my music. I write all my songs. My girlfriend shoots all my videos. We distribute my music independently. There is no affiliation with any record label, manager, PR team, marketing, publicist, distro, nothing. So it's just us. And I've been doing it for about 10 years. And just like you said, man, I'm making music about the things that I think people are afraid to talk about.
Freedom of speech or freedom, as far as what you're saying, for creatives are essential. They're critical. The way I think about it, we are trying to control so much of what we say because we are thinking about how offensive it can be, how offensive it can get when it's just the words, right? And when you get to put so much limits, you have nowhere to go as far as being creative. You have that to go to be a creative. And the real creatives, they are having their creativity dying more and more because you're starting following one line of that. The biggest you get as far as being a big corporation, the more you're gonna start following those single and mainstream approaches and angles. When you get to be independent, when you get to be more local, or you're doing things where you're doing almost everything because that's what he's doing with his girlfriend, you're having more control on what you say and how you say it. You get to be more innovative and really wake up people's minds. And like I said, you're going to irritate and frustrate a lot of people, but you're going to be able to really empower and motivate other people out there. And those people are going to find that there's more than one single approach. When you get to be creative, when you get to really work on that creativity, the freedom you get, or the freedom that is the most important, is the freedom of speech. It's going to come down to the freedom of the thoughts. You're going to be able to move around with your thoughts and marinate those thoughts. But when you get to be from the get-go into being so limited into what you even can think, because from the moment you can say things and you can't say them, you can innovate. You can bring more different approaches, different angles. You're going to start following more of what people are saying rather than you being able to add up to that. And being a creative, it's being able to add up to things, being able to offer solutions, solving. The critical thinking matters more than anything. And beyond that critical thinking is really when you have that eureka moments because you've been marinating those ideas for so much. And what he's talking about is in his music is simply what everybody is thinking about, or a lot of people are thinking about. Not trying to be the smartest guy. He's just saying with all the confidence that he has to say. At the same time, the work that you have to do is literally everything, because when you get to work for labels, especially in the music industry, you're not gonna do much as far as the production, the marketing part of it. You're gonna show up and talk about your music, but other people, you're gonna have teams that are gonna help you, right? But when you get to really be independent, you have a lot of that extra work. It's almost like being a YouTuber, right? When you are your person and you literally managing anything from the production, the editing, what you say, creating the content, creating the ideas, coming up with ideas, you have the total control over that. But because you have the total control over that, you have a lot more to do. You have a lot more to think, right? And it could be very overwhelming at first, but for me, the end goal of it is really the ultimate freedom that you share with other people. And for me, the freedom of ideas. And this is why I want to focus the most on, because this is not an illusion. When you get to have a freedom of idea, it's really starting aligning with that God purpose-driven mission that He has for you. Because you're gonna freely choose to go to Him or not. When you feel limited to go to only one thing or two things, it's not you. It's not your whole creativity that you can demonstrate. You can only do so much when you are limited because you're gonna be scared, you're gonna be overthinking. And that's how when it comes to really having the best ideas ever, you need to go through every type of approach, trying that, failing, trying the other thing, failing again, being able to move around and trying because you are working on that thought mindset. You're working on that brain and that mindset of just creating and thinking, always thinking on the what if. What if it was not just that vision? And to be honest with him, I agree with a lot of things that he's saying, right? And a lot of people could be scared of saying that out loud. The idea is not to do everything to please everybody. The idea of speaking from what you think it is for you, and then some people are going to agree and some people are going to disagree. We are able at some point to just say and listen to each other without having to agree to everything.
How do you go about writing a song? Both musically and then also in terms of the lyrics. Which do you do first? You do the music first, the lyrics first, and where are you getting sort of the material from?
It's always a different process. Since I make all of my own beats, like sometimes I come into the studio with no concept, with no direction, and just sort of create freely, and it just comes about naturally. But like a lot of people out there, I think we're just sort of bombarded with like information these days, whether it's the news or the newspaper or on the internet or on social media. It's just like this constant bombardment of headlines and stuff happening in the world. So I'm just taking all of this information in and digesting it as best as I can. And, sometimes regurgitating it back out into songs of my thoughts and feelings about what's going on in the world today. So yeah, I think it's pretty hard, to not feel some type of way about all the craziness sort of taking place these days.
Marinating, you seeing whatever is going on around you, you really seeing whatever is going on around your life and your story. And that matters because you are seeing it. You are not letting somebody else telling you what is going on, you're seeing it for yourself. And from that moment, you're getting all the information you need and you're getting to a story to make it in a way where it comes from you, even if it comes from the rest of the population. And the way you're going about it is to researching, seeing, and really processing and digesting. Like you said, it's really about digesting everything. Because the worst thing you're gonna do is to getting all those information and copying, getting them out just the way you get them in. I find it really beautiful to get to really go to the lyrics and the songs. When you watch the news, it's not the same thing. And when you are actually listening to a song, it impacts more, it affects you more because of the tone, because of the beat, because of everything going on behind it. And that's why the visual aspect, we are very visual as human beings. But every sense that we have as far as the eyes, as far as what we hear and how we hear it, when it comes through the music, we get to really digest them more and we get to process them more and it gets to affect us even more. And that's why you're not going to listen to every music out there, especially with every type of lyrics that you're going to hear. But if you want to be creative, you're really starting with the simple thing of whatever is going on around you. And however you want to create it, it's going to be your own to really add up to it, innovate it, right? It could have been a journalist and get everything outside, be like, okay, this is what I think. But being an artist and being a creative, it was like, let me put it on paper, let me put it in a song. And that's make it so interesting to me. It's like so interesting. There's too much information. And I'm not too much of a fan of really getting to a theory of being a creative anymore as much because you're getting all those informations out there now, easily, freely. A lot of it, you can get it. How to show up on videos, how to be confident on videos, all the tips to get confident on videos. And even me talking about it is hoping and not necessarily innovating because it's pretty much the same thing you're gonna hear over and over and over again when it comes to being confident on videos. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to those basic things. It's like being confident is taught by actually doing it. You get your fun, you get to film yourself at least once or twice by yourself, and you get to structure all that content and really get the habit of being on videos. It comes from developing that self-confidence and on things that just really matter for you first. And then you're gonna find that energy, that motivation, and aligning with what God even wants for you, which is to speak up, which is to stand on your grounds. And it doesn't have to be anything political or anything like that, but things that you can do in your daily life, with your relationship, with people that you get to talk to every single day. It could be your dad, it could be your sister, it could be your boyfriend, it could be your husband, your wife, it could be your grandma, who knows, right? But just getting to do something that you couldn't do yesterday, that you do today. And when it comes to that, it matters to talk about things that actually just matter for you. And what matters for me is what I see online, is the state of what we're in when it comes to social media. So it doesn't make sense for me to always talk about the tips without talking about the real side of really being online, the real presence or the real state of mind of somebody being online, of people that are actually doing it, succeeding on it, or quitting it altogether. Understanding why, where that comes from. And starting from that standpoint, sharing my point of view on things, on the society, of where we're going, and what we can do, what we can't do, right? And what I think about it, right? And if you get to work with me, it's all about understanding where you're coming from and what you can do tomorrow from that standpoint.
And I'd always been sort of writing poetry and writing rock songs. Didn't have the voice. It wasn't a Robert Plant, Joe Cocker vocalist. But I still needed an outlet, and I had been writing music. So rap and hip hop just was sort of the natural direction for somebody that didn't have a big rock star frontman voice. So got into rap and hip hop, made the exact same music as everybody else for many years, probably 6 or 7 years. Everything was about cars and clothes and money and girls and partying and all that stuff. And I was emulating a lot of like what I was seeing the biggest artists of the time doing, and not only emulating it in my music, but emulating it in my real life, which led me down a super destructive path, which sort of culminated with like a little bit of a bout with alcoholism, which sort of led to a little bit of a mental breakdown. And that took me like 9 months to close to a year to rehab myself from that. So now I'm completely sober, and I sort of coming out of that dark place, it gave me an opportunity to sort of examine what do I care about, and what do I want to make in my music, and who do I want to talk to with my music. And I just sort of made the decision, like I don't want to make music that's going to damage other people like the music I was listening to damaged me. So now I'm here, sober as a judge, making what the world has deemed to be super controversial music, but it's just stuff that I truly care about.
Yeah, what I talk about, the importance of what you're listening to, it's exactly what he's saying. It's really about making sure of what you are listening and how it can affect you. Because the more you're gonna listen to the lyrics about women and what you can do and how you can have fun with them and so on, the more you're gonna start doing it without even you realizing it. And that's what led him to do what he did, to the breakdown. But for me, there's a part of me where I always say God is not doing anything without a purpose, because if he hadn't had that breakdown, he wouldn't be where he is today. He wouldn't be singing something else than what he listened to first, thinking that was the thing that was going to make him be successful. Every detour, every path that you have, that God has for you, is always a path that even you're not going to know anything about. You're going to do things and be like, okay, I'm doing it, I'm doing that, because you are following your desires. To be known, to be successful, to be seen, to have money, because most rappers talk about it. And then you're going to follow that path. And then it's going to get you to really be affected another type of way compared to them, for example. And then you're going to be the voice for a lot of other people out there if they wanted to be a rapper. They are understanding that it doesn't have to be about women and everything else. It can be about real things, serious things, and deeper things, right? It's not because it's rap that it has to be trash. Oh, that was a good rhyme here. Anime and me is very much the same thing, because in anime we are talking about real subject, real situation, real topics, like being a good person, a good human being, or being betrayed, or being hurt, or getting to be challenged by really things that a lot of people can go through in actual life, right? I recently watched Attack on Titans. I'm probably gonna do a video about it. Those are really people you can see yourself being, right? So it's not even about the cartoon, because the art is the manga behind it, and I love it. But the story makes you relate so much, so much. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't need to repeat the success of some people before to have that some success, because what God has for you can be different and is going to be different. It's just for you to align with that and really start to be more clear and more structured around.
So how'd you get into American politics in the first place? You're from Canada, right? You're from our northern neighbor?
Yeah.
So what got you into American politics?
Well, I think that the whole world is sort of into American politics from childhood. Even like growing up in Canada, like my dad and my grandfather were always like really into politics. So I'd sit around and watch TV with them and listen to them talking. And it's really crazy. Like even back then when I was a kid, they were talking about China and sort of warning me about, hey man, China's going to be a big deal one day. You need to pay attention to this stuff. And here we are today. And it's just like a little bit of a deja vu. But so you kind of absorb a lot of that just coming up in Canada. American politics are sort of spotlighted globally, I think. And then moving to America like 8 or 9 years ago now, it was a little bit of a culture shock. And I think that there's a lot of people here that get so wrapped up in it all the time, and they're in it from birth, that I think that I had a little bit of a unique perspective, because I think sometimes it's that old saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. And I think that's where a lot of people are at within the country right now. They're just so surrounded by this stuff and have been for so long that it's hard for them to sort of like differentiate and focus on different things. So coming in from an outsider's perspective 8-9 years ago, I kind of got to stand back and look at everything and say, holy cow, this is wild. What's taking place here? And it's only got crazier over the last 9 years. So
this is the thing that I got relate so much on, because being from Cameroon, I got to experience those different cultural backgrounds, because before then I used to be in Europe and really seeing all those different mindsets. And then getting here, I really saw a lot of differences, and being interested by Japan and South Korea really opened my eyes to what everybody is living, no matter where they are, and trying to find that common points. Because at the end of the day, we all have those common grounds. But when you are way too much into the situation, there's a lot of things that you're not gonna see, because you're gonna be blinded by your emotions and by a lot of things that you can see because you've never been outside of it, right? And it was so interesting for me when I got to first arrive here, for example. That was one example. A lot of people here, a lot of teenagers start working usually at the teenage age. Let's say around 16. When they get to be 16, they get to start working. They get to really have that first work experience. Growing up in Cameroon, it's not necessarily safe, and it's not necessarily a cultural thing to work at that age, for many reasons. Because parents understand, and for them, assume that you are here or you exist only to study and to have a great career and a great job at a certain point in your life. But for the time being, all you need to do is study. All you need to do is to go to school. All you need to do is to go study and study hard enough to go to university and then get to have that great career. And that's how I got to grow up, right? That's how I got to see things. So for me, when I got to have my first job here, I was so proud of myself in being like, you know what, I'm gonna have the best salary ever because I got my diploma, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't have much of experience working. I mean, in my head, it was just picture because this is something that I've always seen in my life, right? And because of that, it was a shocking thing for me to understand and learn that, well, because you haven't had a lot of experience, your diploma doesn't matter at all. to be honest, or not a lot, depending where you are. If you're a doctor, engineer, that's a different story. But for those things where you don't need necessarily to go to university to have work, people don't take you seriously even if you have a diploma. But that's not how I grew up. How I grew up is like the diploma first and then working after. And in Europe, usually it's that. They're gonna see what you got to study and your diploma before getting to see your work experience. In North America, it's totally the opposite. People want to see what you did, what you actually did. This is more a pragmatic approach. So now when it comes to politics and the society and the social media and the experience of everyone regarding a lot of things, feminism, racism, and all those things, when you got to grow up in that context, there's a lot of things that you're not going to see just because you are not outside of it. You are your main character and you want to help yourself getting outside of it, but you are the main character. It's really hard, but the hardest thing is to understand that there are different approaches if you've been used to only see one approach. Even if you had a hard life struggling into the things, they become habit for you. And because they become habit for you, it's a natural thing even if they are not the best thing. It's the same thing as, let's say you live in a family where everybody drinks. In my family, we don't drink much. We don't drink at all even. My parents, they are not drinkers at all. They're gonna drink socially. And because I've been raised around that idea and habit of just not drinking, I can't drink much. I don't like the taste of alcohol and I'm a lightweight. So, all the things where I just can't. Everything is against me when it comes to alcohol, right? You can't see much when you are in it. You see a lot more when you are out of it. Always been interesting into really discovering cultures and really asking questions. When you get to have that open-mindedness, you get to see different ideas and innovative ideas because you don't follow the mainstream line of the thoughts of what people are bringing on. You get to question things. And even if it's controversial, you get to question them. And for Tom Macdonald, he didn't get to be in every continent. It was just from Canada to United States, but it was enough for him to be able to talk about it. Even if he didn't grow up in United States, he has things to say. You don't have to agree with it, but it brings so much more counterintuitive ideas compared to what we're seeing online all the time. That's why it's interesting to see a lot of different type of content. For example, even if you don't agree to them, you just listen, seeing this side, you're seeing their approaches, and you're just like, okay, understand where you're coming from. This is what I offer. Easiness to talk about things and to listen to each other. Because you're not getting close and narrow-minded into what you've always struggled with, you've always seen in your life. Because what you've seen in your life is not necessarily, doesn't represent everybody else looking like you or being like you. Because I can tell you, being African, I have a total different experience. I came here with a total different experience. Even if we look the same, we're gonna think differently. It's important to stay and keep that multitude of angles, multitude of approaches, and questioning everything. You see, everything. You digesting it, you processing it, and then you decide to do whatever you want to do out of it. My point when he said that, I was like, wow. And you don't have to be American to talk about American politics or American things happening in the society, because at the end of the day, United States is influencing so much of other cultures. Then no matter where you are being impacted or influenced at a certain level, right? It's not going to be the same thing, but it's still going to have a certain impact into the politics, the local politics somewhere else. So sometimes the more you're getting close to, the more it's important to talk about it if you feel the need to talk about it. That was pretty much about it for this interview. I hope you had fun. Definitely subscribe, like if you like what you see. There's gonna be more of content like that and a more different type of content, let's put it that way. And of course, comment down below if you have any ideas or anything you want to discuss about or share about. And you're gonna have a lot more links if you want to get to work with me as a coach, creative coach, to feel confident to be online and to show up. as the best person that you can be. And I'm gonna see you another day. I hope you liked it. Smile, because it's free and contagious in a good way. Bye.